Hello, and welcome to Cut the Crap. Just took a few minutes while I was kind of counting down to grab a few more pages here. So basically, what I'm decided to do, kind of with this particular. Hold on, my cat is being a pain. All right, she's, I think, gonna behave now. But basically decided to take this what was it, series, I guess we'll call it, and kind of use it as reflection time. As you could tell from maybe the last episode or the first episode. So yeah, today we're going to talk about infantilization and kind of like in an anti-authoritarian manner. And this came up because I was watching that one of the channels that I watch is Pierre XO, and he had a live stream going, and kind of brought it up there, but I wanted to go into it a little bit more in depth, and because this is a problem that I've had myself quite a few times, and he was saying kind of just because of the way he looks, this happens to him quite a bit. And so I noticed this with people, you know, kind of within the millennial age group. It seems to happen more. And I'm not really sure why that is. But yeah, we'll get into it a little bit more here. I'm just cutting out these boots real quick. So basically, infantilization is where you kind of have a full-grown adults being marketed to and basically treated like babies, I guess. Oh, that's kind of cool. Just in general, you know, in life. And I had a situation come up like this where it's kind of like, you know, came time for me to make a decision in life. And, you know, there's somebody quite a bit older than me, kind of like questioning, you know, stuff that wasn't even any of their business about it. And that's kind of, you know, where we're at in society in general. Like, we have this whole generation of, I think that's why there's like people with in office that are just like on their deathbed. I had somebody send me a little reel related to that, and how somewhere between like the early part of Gen X and the late part of Gen X, this really became a thing. It's like they don't want to they have such a like fear about handing the reins over to somebody, you know, the younger people. And I don't know if this has to do with like the 60s, because that's kind of like the people that are doing this kind of thing, or people that live through the 60s, they seem to kind of do this to people a little bit more than other people. And I was thinking, like, oh, do I do that to like younger people? I don't think I really do. Like, there's obviously times in life that you know, you kind of have different experience than other times. I'm gonna hold on to that because I might want that. And so I get that part, and I understand, like, yeah, you're gonna sometimes have people that are younger than you, and you know, kind of age is just a number kind of a thing, where they're going through, you know, common themes of that time of a person's life. You know, that's fine, whatever. But there seems to be this thing around, you know, the boomers, maybe like really early Gen X people, where they're like projecting this thing onto younger generations, where it's like, no, you can't do that. You don't know what you're doing. You're not adult enough to make a decision for yourself. All your generation wants to do is, you know, play games and sit on your butt, which is, I mean, the video game addiction and stuff like that it's a real thing. I'm not going to deny that either. And there are people that struggle with that. But I also know people that struggle with that, you know, own homes and, you know, have full-time jobs and are in positions of authority. And, you know, I mean, I think I would rather have people be, not to say that one addiction is better than another, but I'd kind of just rather people be addicted to video games than be addicted to like drugs and alcohol, because I think it's a little what, and they can overlap too, right? So, but I think it's a little bit better for, you know, to have the vibration of being addicted to video games than to have some kind of vibration around. That's my cat again, sorry. But to have the vibration of like alcohol addiction or, you know, drug addiction out in the realm, right? Kind of vibrating through. And, you know, games are fun. And one thing that I think about this infantilization kind of phenomenon, I guess I would call it. I don't really know what you would call it. I guess I'd call it a phenomenon. I don't know. There's a better term. You can put it in the chat. But basically, yeah. I'm losing my train of thought a little bit. What was I saying? Oh, so one thing about it is, you know, I think that younger people are kind of, seems to be like more aware of the fact that life, and it's weird because as you get older, this seems to be kind of a thing. I kind of watch my grandparents and see, you know, how they get to be or whatever once they're kind of around that time where they're not going to be around for us anymore. And you know, I had two grandparents pass away last year, and both had kind of childlike qualities about them, even in old age. And I think part of it is wanting to have this. There's this weird thing about wanting to have control over an outcome and not trusting your own kids, or trusting the experiences of a different generation, so to speak. And yeah, we all have our own. I'm just gonna adjust that a little bit. I don't know how it is, but we all in each generation kind of have our own thing, right? Like there seems to be like a theme of struggle or whatever. And I think part of it also is because of like an empty nest syndrome kind of a thing. So once their kids start leaving, and then they kind of do that with their own kids a little bit, but then they end up doing it like and projecting whatever that is onto all the other people of that age. And then there's also this whole thing of like, oh, you haven't seen someone in a while. Like, especially like, I have friends with kids that are quite a bit older than my own children or child or whatever. And, it's like I don't see them for a while. And it's like like the image that you have of them in your head is like, they're still that kid that they were a little, when you last seen them, but they're always is that aging thing. It's almost like a gatekeeping of aging, like in a way, which is kind of weird. So that's kind of then it's kind of like, well, what is there something that we can do to kind of like avoid that, or because I do think it's something that should be addressed at this point. Like I don't think that you should just like take it if somebody's doing that to you, right? Like you should probably be like, oh well, I'm an adult, like regardless of what your perception of me is. And I feel like especially like people like me who have kind of this baby face situation going on, it's like that's just a facade that God has bestowed upon me. Like I don't really doesn't really mean anything. It's just a face, It's not my soul. Hi Luna. And so yeah, it's kind of like, and I don't, kind of blame. I don't want to be like too blamey about it. Whatever. It's nobody's. I don't think you can really fault it to anyone. I do think there is a level of media that goes in. You see all these like news articles that are like millennials and Gen Z or whatever, they don't know how to use money and blah blah blah. It's like another part of that is inflation, like, and the cost of living is a lot different than what it used to be. I remember in psychology class in high school, they were saying something like, I think it was psychology class, but they had said You know, it's way unfair to compare, you know, how you would basically survive from one generation to the next or operate or whatever. It's like you have think of now like people being like, "Oh, you're too young to be tired all the time." It's like that doesn't make sense. It has nothing to do with how old you are. It just has everything to do with like being burnt out. And then like I seen an article today and the headline was, I didn't read it because it was like kind of self-explanatory, but it was like, oh well, since there's a lack of workers, you know, like in the brick and mortar space of the market, I would guess I would say, um, employers might be looking to high school kids. And like I think that, you know, in the 50s when they kind of pushed having an after school job for a little bit of pocket money and take your girlfriend out or to a movie or, you know, buy a fancy dress for prom or whatever it was. And back then you could probably find a decent prom dress for $20 brand new, right? You wouldn't have to go secondhand shopping. And I'm all about thrift stores, so don't get me started on that. But so they have this idea in their head of like how much it costs them to do things and how easy, you know, how easy it was for them. Because, you know, I was born, I'm I'll give my age, I guess. I don't really care. So I was born in 1989. That was the first year that they had credit scores. So before then anybody kind of buying a house, you know, out of college or out of high school, whatever, around that time, they wouldn't need a credit score. They would go to the bank and they would talk to somebody that they worked with quite a while. And, you know, they probably know them. You know, if you're new in town, whatever, you would just kind of be like, well, I have this job and I've been at this job for X amount of time. Not really sure how it worked because, you know, obviously I wasn't there and that's not how I had to do things. But, you know, not having to have a credit score or build some kind of credit in order to, you know, get whatever loan or something that you need would definitely be a huge factor that I think some of these people that, you know, maybe have held office for too long or they're getting ready to retire, I don't quite understand. And they also don't, like, there's so many things now from like for like a parent with a child in school, which is a whole other factor, that like we didn't have any of that when I was in school. And so to me, even to me, I'm just like, what do you mean I have to have 10 apps to, you know, just kind of be in the a little bit in the know of what's going on at school or things that I have to prepare for. And even when I was in school, I feel like there wasn't even that much stuff to prepare for. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna have a dress up days every 2 months, and then you know, your kid feels left out because they don't have, and your kid's not even in middle school yet, and you gotta have, oh, this Hawaiian shirt and a freaking whatever, and it doesn't make any sense. You have all these other things, so then you have to have, you know, a password and a login for every one of these apps, and you gotta make sure that the app is, you clear the cache on the app, and it's like, there's so many different things that we have to think about that they're just not even aware of. And then I think part of it is like, oh, why do people in your generation, why do they have anxiety about making doctor's appointments or whatever? And like, I think this is part of it, is because when every, adult or whatever, I guess you would say, if you're a young adult and the older adults are always treating you like you're 10, then you're going to have this weird anxiety about doing things like calling the doctor or whatever, because you're going to think that they're going to like talk down to you. Like, I had to make a phone call before I got on here, and I was like, I don't get why I have this anxiety about making phone calls sometimes. I think I was like, oh, well, perfect timing to think about this a little bit. And so, yeah, I think that's part of it. Like, I think people just subconsciously think they're going to be talked down to already because this has been such a problem for the past probably 10 years or so. I'm not really sure. And probably it was more than that, but I've really noticed it in the past 10 years or so. And so it's kind of like, how do we get to where we don't have that anxiety and kind of move forward with life without being treated like, or having the fear, I guess, even of being treated like you're just a little kid and you don't know what you're talking about. And I think even with the medical world is a lot like this too. It's like, oh, you don't know your own body that you're in every day. like what are people even talking about sometimes? And it's this weird control, like a superiority complex, ego trap thing. And it's like, if holding on to a sense of childlike wonder was so bad for you or terrible or whatever, why would so many people, I read all these things about, because I'm very interested in death, and so I read, kind of like, that's one thing I would like to become, is like a death doula. I just really think I would be good at it. But the one thing that I'm kind of like, hold on, some of these pages I can't remember what I was gonna get out of them, or exactly what I was gonna do with them. So, but like sense of wonder, like obviously that's not the bad thing, but it feels like, because some people more naturally, or the younger generation, whatever, the people that are kind of being infantilized more. And yeah, I mean, it's okay. You want to have a piece of candy once in a while, or get excited about having cake, or going on a roller coaster or whatever. Like, that's only natural. It doesn't mean that we don't know how to pay a bill. Like, obviously I've made it, obviously we've made it this far without having to be too, not completely floundering, and to not have any real, I mean, there's a few examples. I don't know if they're great examples of people in office that are for, not to make it too political, because I'm not really a politics type of person, but sorry. I had to stop and look at the page that I'm cutting and see if there was anything else. But I don't think there's a lot of examples, of people that are younger that are, can make, that are making wise decisions for, people other than themselves. And even so, then there's like this weird, like, there's this weird kind of image built around the younger generations. And we have, people, and then we have, and this is every generation to an extent, will be like, you're just a bunch of dumb kids or whatever. But once you get to be like, it's like I see people being infantilized and they're like almost 40 years old, or sometimes even in their 40s. And it's like, you don't think, these people can figure it out. And we don't need to be like, make so many things about nostalgia. Like, I do think there's something not great about that. But I also realize that there's a reason that it's there. And I think part of the reason that it's there is, that whole thing of, again, being able to kind of hold on to the childlike sense of wonder and have a little bit of whimsy in your life, which will make your life a lot less depressing and a lot more enjoyable. And so, like, you don't want to end up being like, I don't know, how would I describe it? Like, like a Stalinistic type of motif in it. Like, you want to see fun things, right? Or like, you see how, like, McDonald's, perfect example. They used to have all kind of, like, colorful, and they had the play place, and then they had all these characters, and now it's like, because of the greed of things, they have this, like, everything is just gray steel boxes, like the brutalism. I guess that's like a style, right? Brutalism. And the brutalism is getting a bit out of hand, because it's like, all right, well, yes, neutrals go with, and that's kind of funny that I'm on this, like, neutral thing that I'm cutting out right now. But neutrals have their place, right? They're cool, they go with everything. But we don't want everything, sad beige world where it's like no color, and then it's like no laughter. Everything has to be super professional and all this stuff. It's like they're trying to funnel people into this mentality of just blah, I don't know, blase mentality. Like, and can be nihilistic when need be. I don't think there's like, it's totally uncalled for to be nihilistic at times. But all the time? Like, I don't want to be doing it all the time. And so I think that's one way of kind of addressing it, is to be like, hey, you know, at some point you got to realize life is about more than making money and being cost effective. And say I'm looking at this Main Street buildings, and this is Stillwater, Minnesota. A little illustration. I don't know who they had do the illustration, but it's cute. I'd use that somewhere in my art journaling. But yeah, the buildings have gotten blah. The mentality has gotten pretty blah. It's like nobody even wants to stand up. I think that's part of it too, is, you know, as this is happening, I'm like, no, like, I'm gonna stand up for myself. Like, you don't, I've always kind of been like that, even as a kid, like, because I'm one of these kids that's had to, you know, I've been kind of a little bit parentalized, and that's just, there's reasons for that. I understand that. But so I've had to have a bit more mature mentality. So it's like, yeah, you don't actually know me. There's a lot of projection going on. Even if you know somebody a little bit, you don't know everything that they've had to kind of traverse to get to where they are. And I've never been one to treat even kids that way. I think another way to combat that is, besides just standing up for yourself, because that's our responsibility, not against responsibility. I just do it differently than other people. And another way is to, you know, have somebody pull up some examples of kids, you know, there's kids under the age of 10 running businesses, freaking discovering cures to diseases. And so age really doesn't have anything to do with how smart and wise and how you can be responsible or have some kind of a soul. Or it's always just been just a number. And it's like other people, you know, your choice is your choice and my choice is my choice, and I will have authority over my own life, and, you know, you don't get to say, just like like I said before, I have kids. I have a kid, and, you know, I don't will try to dictate everything for her, because that's part of learning in life, is how to make choices and what do you want, and she has a say in what she wants to say. She wants to have something to eat, particularly, or, you know, I kind of put things out there. Picking out your own clothes even is just can give you so much confidence in your decision making. But something that takes away from the confidence is being treated like all you want in life is candy, and that, you know, sometimes with kids, I find it helps to give them, you know, these are the options, but you ultimately are in charge of the choice from what the options are. So that's kind of my rant on that. I guess I don't have much more to say. It's just something I've been reflecting upon, and probably go through and get some more images out of here. I'll see who's in the chat before I go, and see if I can get this down gracefully. Probably not. Oh no. Oh hi. Yeah. So hi Layla and Christy Crinkle. I see your pink hand waving over there. It's nice to see you guys. Sorry I'm not in the actual chat because I just hopefully in the future ones I'll be able to like somehow run the chat on a separate device, but I've just been going off of my phone, so I can't see the chat because I'm using my back camera, not my front camera, and I have to have it on this little thing so that you can actually see what I'm doing. But yeah, thanks for coming. Thrift stores are awesome. Thanks for hanging out and being cool, and I love you guys. I hope that this was helpful to you, and hopefully you don't feel like you're treated like a big baby, or if you are being treated like a big baby, then like hopefully this helps you find some kind of confidence to stand up for yourself in a way. Hi Stella, I'm on my way out, but it's nice to see you. All right, well, until next time, just keep on keeping on. If you want to hit the like button, that'll be helpful. If you want to follow me, I think I have links in my YouTube profile to where all my stuff is at. So, all right, I'll see you guys later.